Hi guys, Happy New Year. This is Meenu. Welcome back to my channel, Storytale. So we are in 2023 and this is the first video that I'm making in the year, and I'm really excited to talk about the segment that I've brought today. So we are finally 2023 and I know that we are waiting for certain changes in our life. I know my life is going to change a lot because I got married last year, and this year of course everything is going to be different, and I'm really excited for it, and I'm so a little bit scared. But anyway, that is part of life. I'm also excited for my journey ahead of reading because I do want to read more. I do want to experiment more. Last year I took up a challenge where I had to complete books from A to Z, from like alphabet A to Z. Like I have to read books starting from all the alphabets, and it was a little bit tricky, of course. First of all, 26 books, that is a headache itself because I'm someone who does not actually get a lot of time to finish reading. So of course it was a lot, and especially I started this challenge kind of very late. Like if I had started my challenge from January last year, then it would have been completed around August or September. But I started it a little too late. I did get distracted with all the wedding preparation and everything. So of course it was a bit of challenge to finish, and that was the fun of it actually, because it was really thrilling and I really loved it. And finally, at the last day, I was able to finish it. I'm not sure what challenges I'm going to take this year, or maybe I will not take this year, because of course this year is going to be huge. It has going to have a lot of changes, so maybe I'll never get chance to do something different other than my usual reading. Let's see what the year entails. But anyway, let me give you the list of all the books that I've read from A to Z. This video is going to be in two parts because of course all 26 books I cannot talk about it, and I'm not going to talk in detail about the books. I may just give you the names, or if any, I'll talk a little bit about one or two books that I've not already mentioned in my previous videos. Most of the books from my list I have made videos of, so if you want you can check that out. And there was only few that I left out of it, so if possible I will give you a little bit detail of that. Now without wasting any more time, let's get into it. So for the alphabet A, I read All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir, A Plain Story by Anmol Malik, and Atomic Habits by James Clear. Maybe there are one or two books that I've read which starts from A, because A is one of the easiest letter, but I do not recall all of them. But these were the three main that I read. I loved all three of these books. They were just amazing. Atomic Habits is one of a non-fiction book. I did really try non-fiction books last year and I really loved my experience of it. For the alphabet B, I read Book Lovers by Emily Henry, Book of Night by Holly Black, and Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. Birthday Girl was by far my most favorite of all these books. Book of Lovers and Book of Night were not actually that good. They were actually a bore and very long and not actually interesting. Birthday Girl is the only one that stands out in this one. For the letter C, I read Only Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. This was again one of a very disappointing book. I did not like it that much. Like I was expecting a little bit better from it, especially when it's a queer book. I was like expecting a little bit more of romance, more of chemistry, but it was actually not there. And there was also a lot of talk about witches and everything. So of course again that was a very good premise. I did like the premise of it, but the story and everything was not going anywhere. It was really boring and I did not like it that much. For the alphabet D, I read Dreamland by Nicholas Sparks. This was my first time reading Nicholas Sparks, and to be honest I was a little bit disappointed. I did not like it that much. I think his other books maybe are better. I've never read before any of his books, but I did watch the movies and I liked them better than this book. This was an average one. Like it was a meh, like there was nothing great about it. There was just only one section which was great, and that was also a trick of mine, so I do not know. This was a very disappointing read. For the alphabet E, I read Everyone Has a Story by Savi Sharma. I would never ever recommend this book because it was so bad. I hated this book with everything in me. Like all the characters, the premise, like there were so many plot holes in it. Like, it was so disappointing, and this is one of a popular book in India. So for me this was much more big of a disappointment because I was expecting a lot, especially from a book which is very famous, and not many books get very famous in India. So of course I thought maybe it is something great, but I do not know. It was so bad. It was really, really bad. For the alphabet F, I chose Fangs by Sarah Anderson. It was such a lovely treat. This was a graphic novel, and it is a very short graphic novel, but it was such a delight to read. I really loved the love story between a vampire and a werewolf. It was so beautiful, it was so endearing. This is like by far my favorite book because I loved it. I read this graphic novel a little too late, but anyway, it was such an amazing read. I loved it. I loved everything about it. For G, I read Gallant by V. Schwab. Again, a disappointment. I have read better, to be honest. I have read better. And I expected a lot because she is one of very popular authors. Especially her last book, The Invisible Life of Eddie LaRue, is a phenomena. So everyone loves it. But when I read this book, it was average. I mean, I love the writing style and everything. Of course, she is an established writer. She writes very well. But the story and everything could have been much better. For the alphabet H, I read House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. Sarah J. Maas is one of my favorite authors. I really love her writing. I think she writes very big books, but she does not make it very boring. But I was kind of wrong about this one. This one was a good book. I really loved the premise. I loved the love story and everything. And it could have been much better if around 400 to 500 pages were cut off, because it did not need to be that long. This is one of my least favorite books of Sarah J. Maas. I'm really hoping for a better one in the next installment. For the letter I read I Kissed Sarah Weller by Casey McQuiston. This is again one of a very disappointing book. I did not like it that much. I did like her last book, but this one was very disappointing. Especially the ending. It is one of the most stupid ending that I've read. So it was not actually worth my time. For the alphabet J, I read Jackal by Erin A. Adams. Again, one of her brilliant book. Like, I love when mystery and thriller books are done well, and this was done at perfection. I love this book. The whole premise, the whole setting, the whole story, the gory details, everything about this book was perfect. This is one of my top recommendations this year. I think everyone should give it a read at least once. Now for the alphabet K, I read Kekai by Vaishnavi Patel and Kingdom of the Cursed by Kerry Maniscalco. Kingdom of the Cursed, it was okay. I loved it. I loved the main characters, of course, and I really loved the premise of it. It could have been a little bit better, yes, but it was not disappointing. I really liked it. And Kekai was one of my favorite books of 2022. I really loved the whole take on Kekai, the whole mythology or the fiction that it was shown in the book. I really loved it. I think it was one of a very brilliant book, especially for a debut novel. I think it was done very well. Again, one of my recommendations this year. Now for the letter L, I chose Lesson in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmers. Again, one of very good books. This book is very enlightening, especially it talks about women empowerment and how wrong the society is. Through the main character here, we see all the problems that a woman had to face, especially when she tries to do her job or she, tries to be a scientist. There were a lot of problems. There's a beautiful love story in it. There's a beautiful relationship between a daughter and a mother. I think this is a very beautiful book, and if you're really into women empowerment books, I think you should give this one a try. Now this is the last alphabet that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about other alphabets in my part 2 video, so do check that out. Now for the letter M, I read My Killer Vacation by Tessa Belly and Monroe by Kresley Cole. My Killer Vacation, fun read. You can read it. A little bit stupid here and there was a lot of problems with it, but it is a one time read. You can read it. It is a fun read. A lot of sexual scenes in that, so if you like that, you can go for it. And there's also Monroe by Kresley Cole. Kresley Cole is one of my all-time favorite authors. I really love her series, the Immortal After Dark series. And Monroe is one book that people have been waiting for years. I have been waiting for it for years, like almost 4 years. But to be honest, I was kind of disappointed with it. There was nothing new about the story. Same alpha male, same alpha female. There was nothing different about them and the other characters that I've already read. So there was nothing new about this one, so I was expecting a little bit better. The weight was kind of a waste, to be honest. I really wish her other installments get a little bit better, and they do include people of color and LGBTQ plus community. It needs to have some kind of representation in it because that has been lacking a lot in Kresley Cole book, so I'm really looking forward for that. So this is it for the part 1. I'm gonna be releasing part 2 soon, so do check that out, and do let me know in the comments down below which is one of the most difficult letters for you to find if you have ever tried this challenge. I will see you in the part 2. Take care.